All right, welcome. We're going to give a couple minutes here to let people trickle in, but yeah, welcome to the webinar. All right, welcome folks. I can see that people are trickling in. Those of you that already heard this announcement, I apologize that I'm going to be saying it again, but we'll give a couple minutes for people to find their virtual seats. If you guys look, there's a chat widget at the bottom of the screen. Just like with any other webinar that you've been on there, you can use that to ask some questions. And can't imagine that we're going to use the full hour here. Brian is short and to the point. I am a little more long-winded, but it is what it is. He'll keep things on track. We're anticipating about a half hour worth of content, and then there'll be plenty of time for questions and answers at the end. So please use that chat widget if you have questions, comments, concerns. Concerns can go to Brian. Praise can go to me. Any hard questions, we'll just probably not answer.
Right, and we do promise that we'll make it worth your time if you stick around to the end. There's some exciting things we'd like to share today.
Perfect. Give a couple more minutes. Looks like attendance is at 31 right now.
Maybe everyone is still a little late this morning from watching that Twins game. Sounds like it was quite the epic comeback, possibly last night.
Not too shabby. 10-2. 10-2.
Not bad.
Although I do miss Gardenhire that you inherited. Who's leading your boys right now.
Yep.
Fun fact: he leads the MLB in active managers for dejections.
I could believe that. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me actually.
Just waiting till they go to robotic umps and he gets thrown out for arguing with a robotic ump. That's going to be good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it looks like attendees are kind of leveling off. We'll give it another minute. And just in case you are just joining us, there's a chat widget at the bottom you can use to ask any questions. We'll get started here in about a minute. I'm anticipating about 30 minutes of content and then a promised big surprise from Brian at the end. And we'll also have time for some Q&A. Let's give it about 30 more seconds, then we'll go. So Brian, when are we going to start that baseball podcast? I think there's some good back and forth there. We're going to have guests.
Oh, yeah, I'll put that one on the backlog. I'm not sure. I have my other podcasts that I don't spend enough time on.
Yeah, we're all in that situation.
Right.
Oh, gosh. Well, it looks like there's still a few more people trickling in. Yeah, having a podcast sounds like something that would be cool for about a week. And then it'd be a Sunday and be like, oh no, I have to do that.
I've had it for a couple of years now, but I can't tell you that it's been a completely regular frequency in terms of but I do enjoy it. It's a little bit different, a little bit more free flowing sometimes with some of the guests, but you make it work.
Well, sounds good. Well, I'll put it on our list. The AL Central talk with Brian and Brendan. I'll work on my NPR voice. Anyway, so I think we have everyone in. So welcome once again for the final time to our webinar. There's a chat widget in the bottom that you can use to filter through any questions. And without any more kind of lead up, welcome.
All right. Well, thanks, Brendan. So yeah, as we're saying, today we're going to focus on a really interesting solution that we'd like to bring to anyone who has both Siteimprove and Kentico. And it's part of our Toolkit for Kentico product suite. And it's basically a nice little integration that makes it very easy to do your job with these two platforms. So we're going to talk about that today. In case you don't know who I am, my name is Brian McKeiver. I'm actually co-owner at BizStream. We're a custom software development shop near Grand Rapids, Michigan, which is why I was talking about the Tigers earlier with Brendan. And we've been in business for about 18 years. We are a Kentico Gold partner for over 10 years now and have done many, many medium, large, and very, very large Kentico Xperience installations and customizations across the United States, into North America and South America as well. So we specialize in Kentico development services, and I'm very happy to be joined by Brendan. Go ahead. You want to introduce yourself, Brendan?
Yeah, so I'm Brendan Lorenz. So I'm on the partnership team over here at Siteimprove, primarily dealing with all of our customers and all of our partners in the Kentico space. And I think Brian buried the lead as he introduced himself, because I've been told, the reports are true, that Brian's been made one of two people globally that are both an MVP in the new Xperience kind of group set, but also in Kentico content. So I promised him that I'd bring up the new honorifics. I have no honorifics. I am not an MVP in any place.
Yep. And if you want to know more about that, you can check out my blog at mcbeeve.com, but we'll get to that at the end. So you're stuck with the two of us today. We're going to try to make it interesting, make it worth your while, and tell a little bit of a story. But we'll start with some goals. So why did we have this webinar? Why did we invite you all to be a part of it? Well, there's really three things we want to get across, and that is, why we think that at BizStream and with our different Kentico clients out there, that there's a compelling story to use Kentico with Siteimprove together. We think it really helps you mature your digital process and procedures with managing your presences on the web. And then to do that, we have been working with Siteimprove for a while on something new. And today we'd like to announce that we're calling it our Siteimprove Premium extension for Kentico Xperience. We'll get into that as we go through this webinar. And then, of course, we want to show it off. So I'm going to do a live demo. Hopefully the demo gods will be happy with me today, and it will go well. I believe it should. But that's our goal. Is we want to kind of tell you, why would you want to do something like this, how it works, maybe show a little real world examples, and tell you how to get it at the end. So those are our goals. But we thought we'd start with the story so far. And as I mentioned, Brendan and I have known each other for years now. BizStream has been working with Siteimprove and Kentico for years. And we had heard from some customers that, hey, I'm doing my daily efforts. I'm creating content, I'm publishing content, my website's management is happening, my team is making their edits, and changes are going. But sometimes we stub our toes. Sometimes content goes out to the world that isn't double checked and maybe doesn't have the best results. Sometimes there's large images that get published, and all of a sudden our sites slow down and we don't have the best scores on Google page speed and things like that from an SEO standpoint. And just, our quality, sometimes we know it could be better. And that's where we found a really nice sweet spot with one of the capabilities that Siteimprove has in terms of kind of bringing their product and joining forces with Kentico Xperience to kind of solve that issue. So we're going to talk about what some of those issues are, but in case you don't know, we've actually had a integration that's been certified by both Siteimprove and Kentico for about 2 years now, and it's completely free. It's kind of our basic extension, and I'll show that in a second. But we wanted to do a little bit more to add more value into that integration and kind of take it to the next level. So we've been partnered for a while. The integrations has been between the CMS and Siteimprove for a while, and again, I think there's something more that we could do to make it even better, and that's really why we're here, and that's really why we've developed this new product. But before I get into it totally, Brendan, do you want to maybe just cover quickly, like, hey, as a reminder, here's what Siteimprove does really, really well, and here's why you should use it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I think as I look through the attendee list today, I mean, we're overwhelmingly represented by Siteimprove customers. But to Brian's point, like, what Siteimprove is all about is making sure that you can manage your digital experience. It's about publishing good quality content. And so what we're seeing, especially in our new digital age here of 2020, as we all kind of are engaging all of our brands almost exclusively through digital experiences, is that consumers have high expectations for their digital experience. which also means that manually updating things and outdated processes just aren't going to cut it when you're running a modern website. So proper visibility and optimization is paramount. Otherwise, you'll deliver a poor experience to your customers. And in all likelihood, if you don't have something watching out for it, you're going to be out of step with regulatory expectations, and you're going to be missing a broad swath of your audience if you can only, I guess you'd say, communicate with people that aren't covered by any of those nice WCAG standards that everyone's using Siteimprove for. So Siteimprove from 10,000 feet is all about optimizing essential disciplines from a single platform. And so what today is about is taking our pre-existing integration with Kentico and then putting it on steroids to bring even more goodness.
Okay, yeah, and I think I'll add too that we had heard from a few co-customers, people who had been using Kentico Xperience for years and using Siteimprove for years, that they were almost forgetting that both tools could work well together. And we have a co-client down in New Orleans that basically told us, like, hey, we have this issue with our main core web managers know that we're going to create content, we're going to publish it, and then we're going to look at Siteimprove for the results to see, has anything been missed, or can we improve anything, or how are we doing on accessibility, right? Common scenario, but they were a little frustrated that the individual departments were kind of forgetting that Siteimprove was there and they weren't using it to its fullest potential. So there was this gap that kind of developed between the fact that a couple of team members were using it. It's a great service, providing value, but the rest of the team wasn't, because they were just kind of forgetting that it was a second step away from Kentico's editing experience. So really, that's what our integration ties together tightly at the first point of it. And we do that with implementing Siteimprove's CMS extension right into the Kentico admin interface. So you're in one position, one place, you're creating content in the content tree in Kentico, you may be going through a workflow, you may even have like an approval level where another person checks your work, because as we know, Kentico does that really well. But it was, then you click publish and then you kind of move on, because everyone's busy, there's many things to do. Maybe you go work on an email campaign or do something else after the page was published. Well, the CMS extension that Siteimprove has for actually all of the CMSs that it works with does a great job of being able to take the results of what Siteimprove sees on a page right into any CMS. So we took their functionality and we added that directly into the Kentico admin tool. And it comes right in the interface to be able to help you see what's going on with that content right as you're working with it in one spot. And the last point here on this slide is actually really critical, because what it does is it also gives you the ability with a single button click with the page that you're working on to automatically request a crawl of the latest information that's published out to the world. So instead of having to kind of maybe wait for the next day or do things separately, it's all in one spot. And I think that's a great tool that Siteimprove has added in their platform to make that easier and connect it to that one spot that you're working with at that moment. And it looks like this. So I'm hoping at this point, anyone who's on the webinar actually is somewhat familiar with Kentico and actually Siteimprove as well. But basically, this is the Dancing Goat starter template site that comes with Kentico 12 Service Pack 1. In fact, it's been a part of the Kentico ecosystem really since like Kentico 8 or Kentico 9. It's a simple website. It's meant to kind of show off some of the functionality of Kentico and kind of just here are all the tools that Xperience gives you to manage content, to do e-commerce, to do digital marketing. And this is our Pages application. This is our main core building block of Xperience. Right? We see our content tree on the left. In the middle, we have our page editing experience with, in this world, we're actually looking at the MVC aspect of Xperience. So we're looking at the page builder. This implementation of the Siteimprove CMS plugin actually works for both MVC and Portal Engine Kentico sites. That's probably going to be a question that comes up. I just thought I would head that off right now. So you can be on the page tab or the content tab or the form tab if you're in Portal. And you can see on the right-hand side, we've got this integration that just looks at the page that we're currently editing or previewing. And in this example, we're showing the home page. So we're showing the home page of the website. We have it automatically tied to the results of the Siteimprove platform all in one spot. So this is something that it ends up on the sidebar. You click once, and if you're logged in, it just shows you your scores for your DCI score on things like quality, SEO, accessibility, and you can actually configure a couple settings about the plugin. And again, it just kind of makes it easy. And what I kind of foreshadowed earlier is this button is like my favorite button of this integration. It's that without having to go anywhere else and without having to wait for the next day, because I think generally Siteimprove spiders your website every day, maybe even different frequencies, but basically you can average out every day. I don't want to wait till the next day for the results if I make a change and publish it in Kentico. I actually want to see those results right away. So you can click that button, and that will request a recrawl of the homepage that we're looking at right then and there, and the numbers will update, and any things that you might want to check or think through are presented to you as you're editing that page content. And again, this is the basic extension, the free extension that is out there today, and we'll talk about how you can get it later. But I think you're missing some opportunities if you're not at least using the basic extension with Kentico and Siteimprove.
Yeah, and to that, if you heard some clicking in the background, it's because Andrew and I were having an on-air production meeting on whether or not we could put a poll in the chat on who is actually using that standard integration. So I'm gonna put Andrew on the spot as he furiously types in the background. As that comes up in the chat box, I'd love to know, are you using the standard integration with Kentico and Siteimprove currently?
Fantastic. Well, I'm going to let you guys, from a moderator standpoint, handle that poll. I would have no idea how to do that in Zoom.
I didn't even know if we could do it. I just was chatting. I was like, that would be really cool. Yeah. On-air production meeting. Good stuff.
Yeah, worst case, you can thumbs up or +1 or however you do it. If you're using it, that'd be great. We'd love to know. I totally agree. But again, the only thing you need to get started with the free extension is a valid Kentico website and a valid Siteimprove subscription. And then from there, it's install a few bits and read some documentation and can turn it on, basically. And again, it will just show up right in your Kentico user interface on the Pages application for you. Pretty cool.
Sounds good. Looks like the poll is currently up. And just to be clear, so this standard, you should say, plugin is going to remain available. And so just wanted to make sure that we hit on that emphatically.
Awesome. Thank you. That's great. Great idea. Where was that idea yesterday when we were planning this?
Well, I think just like our proposed, I guess you could say, podcast, it's going to be very, back and forth. It's good stuff. It's what our listeners expect, I'm assuming.
All right. And again, that's a little bit of background and information in case you don't know. But what we're really even more excited about today is to introduce our new integration capabilities, which we're kind of calling the Siteimprove Premium extension. And the Premium extension for Xperience is different because it kind of changes the workflow of publishing content and then letting Siteimprove look at that published content and tell us the results after the fact, right? And it's still very important to do that and use both tools efficiently, but we wanted to be even smarter. For instance, a lot of larger digital marketing teams that we work with, they have a set of like kind of what they call content governance. And maybe you might refer to that as your brand guide or style guide sometimes, but this is actually more slanted towards the actual content that goes out on the web page. So, sometimes you might have regulatory restrictions you need to meet with your content in terms of like date time formats that need to be a certain AP style, or, you might have to always make sure you have a character length of X characters long on an introduction paragraph statement. Sometimes you want to make sure that a page doesn't have images that are broken or images that are super large that slow down a page. So that's all kind of possible when you use Siteimprove to its fullest. And what we thought is, wouldn't it be cool if instead of waiting until after things are published and the whole world can see it, what if we could do that double check before the content was published? What if we could do it in like preview mode with a workflow in Kentico Xperience and fix those errors before they even go out? And that's what we've done with the Premium extension. We're actually leveraging a piece of the Siteimprove platform called the Pre-Publish Check. And it's something that our tool uses behind the scenes to integrate into Kentico. But before I get into how it integrates, just to hammer home the point here, I will give you a personal digital marketing fail from my early career days before I was purely into web development. When I went to college at Grand Valley State University here in Michigan, fantastic Division II school. We have a great football team, although who knows if they're going to play this year. But my job was to be the layout editor of the university newspaper, which is called the Lanthorn. Crazy name, but that's, our motto is the Lakers, and we're by Lake Michigan, so that just happens, I guess. But basically, my job was to make sure all of the headlines on all the articles fit the right spot on the physical newspaper, as well as the digital edition, which is out on the website. And this was back in the early 2000s, and it wasn't always all that easy to do such things on the web. And it came from the print edition first. Well, when you do this, you sit in this job for 12 hours a day before you can release the physical print edition, because they send it to a printer and it takes a ton of time to print the weekly edition of the newspaper. So you'd sometimes be there till 1, 2, 3 a.m. To make sure it was done and you could get off to the printer. And there was an interesting character on our university whose name was Preacher Tom. And Preacher Tom would, get up on his soapbox and talk about very interesting topics right in the middle of campus during a class switch or during a football game, and crowds would come up, and it's kind of a big deal on our campus to, a little bit of a discussion would happen, to say it politely, about the topics he talked about. And of course, at 1 or 2 a.m., you're not thinking necessarily about running spell check all the time. And sure enough, the first headline on the leading homepage of the newspaper, if you will, I misspelled, Preacher Tom, and it sure as heck would have been nice to not make that mistake that got printed 20,000 times in print and also made it to our website with a click of a button. I wish I would have had something like a pre-published check in those days to, make sure that didn't happen. And it's something that people that know me and went to school with me, they remind me until this day of this mistake that I've made, and the fact that I'm not really the best speller. So yeah, when you use Siteimprove, errors like that can be prevented using this new integration and new capabilities that Siteimprove has. So, things like this, maybe not necessarily to my personal digital marketing fails, but I bet if I took another poll with our fancy new technology here in Zoom, how many people would raise their hand that lorem ipsum text somehow made it to your production website at one point or another? In fact, Brendan's probably going to raise his hand right now because you can see it. I'm guaranteeing that he's done that once in his career as well. Or things like, super large images, short words, repeated more than once, and of course, pages that contain the word peacher instead of preacher, as my personal favorite mistake goes. So in case you're not familiar with the policy aspect of Siteimprove, this is what our integration uses. It uses the policies capability to generate personalized policies for your website to prevent mistakes like this. And then we took that information and added it into a Kentico Xperience Advanced Workflow that you can have to check your content before it goes out to the world. And it looks like this in Kentico Xperience. And I know this is fancy and there's lots of lines and boxes, and don't worry too much because you won't actually have to touch this. This is something that our integration just provides to your Kentico website for you. But basically, we're taking the content, and when someone tries to publish it, we're shooting that content out to the Siteimprove API. It's reading that content, checking against those policies, and optionally will not allow you to publish that page if some of the high priority policies are matched, as in there's an error. And if there is an error, the system returns that back right to you in the editing interface of Kentico Xperience and tells you, hey, there's a problem. Here's what the problem is. You shouldn't publish this page yet. And it actually rejects that version history and puts you back into edit mode. Now, of course, we don't want to get in the way of you getting your job done. So there's a way to skip that, even if Siteimprove says, hey, you're not matching all these policies perfectly. Maybe you've got to get something out for a deadline. There's a way to just say, oh, I don't care, just publish it anyways, because we don't want to get in your way of doing your job. But we think this is a nice thing that's an automatic double check that can be personalized based off your specific needs for your Kentico Xperience site. And we think it's a pretty interesting helper to do your job and publish quality content more efficiently and faster. So that's a ton of talking and setup. How about we actually just show the thing working in the real world? Because I think that's hopefully what you're all interested in at this point. I'm going to switch out to my Kentico 12 Dancing Goat site. And this is really the same thing I showed a screenshot of earlier. This is the live website running at a live domain. I've got some articles of content with some content in here. This should look very, very similar. If you're not familiar with that, you may not be doing Kentico the right way and you should give us a call. But this is an article. We've got title, summary, text, there's images, standard Kentico stuff. One thing that you may not be totally familiar with, though, is inside of Siteimprove, when you're logged in with your account, there's this awesome policy feature. And the policy overview gives you a chance to see kind of, if I have all these policies and what's matching a policy may be an issue I want to address or at least think about. And you can divide policies into different priorities. So there's high, there's medium, there's low, there's different ways to do that. The nice thing about Siteimprove is it comes with a built-in library of many, many policies. I mean, I think, Brendan, isn't it like over 100 policies that just come built in that you can click one time and just use if you want?
I think I'm going to talk to product and make it 101. The feature one, I think it's going to be standard in all Siteimprove. Yeah, I like that. I think it's like 140 currently.
Yeah, there's a ton. So I didn't have to generate all this. It saves me the time of having to do that. I can use it from the policy library, which is really nice. But at the end of the day, I can customize it to my site. So if I look at my policies, what our integration does is say any of the policies that are marked as high priority. And I've actually got 3 or 4 high priority policies right here that if my page of content matches this policy, as in there is Latin text, or there is the repeated more than one time, or the word dancing goat is spelled wrong, because I know that that's a common misspelling that my organization has. I can craft those policies very easily. And if I look at a policy, we've got how many pages are actually matching. It gives me a nice list of again, these are the public pages that are already things that I would want to go fix. But I can see the trends over time of, am I hitting these policies or not? And I can just craft. This might be a little technical, but if you've got a development person or a savvy digital marketer, it's just matching text on a page. And there's a ton of other policy rules that you can apply things to. I'm not going to get into any more than that right now, because there's a whole awesome set of documentation on the Siteimprove website that would tell you everything you want to know about this. But for what I want you to know right now in this demo is we've got high priority policies. And if those match the content that we're creating, that's the thing we're looking out for, okay? So now back into Kentico Xperience, we see that we have some article content, and I could make a change here, and I could do certain things, and I could spell things wrong, and maybe I wouldn't catch that, or maybe my editing approval wouldn't catch that by default. And if I click approve and publish, what's going to happen here is the content is going to be wrapped up, and the real web page, the final output of the web page based off this content, is packaged up. It's shipped over to the Siteimprove API, and it waits in their system for the available resources to check that against those policies. Sometimes it takes 10 seconds or 2 seconds. Sometimes it can take up to a minute or 2 or 3 because of just how busy the overall Siteimprove platform is. I'll give you a pro tip. If you do this in the morning, it's almost instantaneously, because I think Eastern Standard Time morning is not that busy. But if you do it, later on the day, it does take a couple minutes sometimes, and that's fine, because it's something that you want to make sure it's done the right way. So we can't just do it instantaneously, because we have to render that web page, look at the results, and do some things. But to show the progress of what's going on, what really happened here is we have passed into Kentico's just built-in capabilities with workflow that, hey, here is the submission of the page to the API. We're now checking the results of the API. And again, we're kind of waiting in the wait step. We're waiting for Siteimprove to finish the check and give that information back to us. So this is real-time communication between the Kentico Xperience site that you own and maintain and publish content on and the Siteimprove API. We don't have to wait till the next day. We don't have to wait to click another button that says recrawl. And again, that could take even an hour to recrawl sometimes. This is go as fast as we possibly can. And I think even, Brendan, you mentioned that you're working on making this almost as fast as possible in currently the improvement process of the platform, right?
Yeah. So I would say as we just take a look at what is the real value that Siteimprove provides, is that honestly, we are supporting all of our customers as they attempt to publish and maintain the highest quality websites that they can. So we find that often people will come to Siteimprove and they'll buy for one reason. But the thing time and time again we hear is as they interact with their account managers, their success folks is, wow, policy is a real lifesaver. The lorem ipsum texts of the world out there, the large images, and just the ability to continue to stay on top of all this is huge. And so this is part of our, I guess you could say, strategy as we go towards the future to have more instantaneous results as people do pre-publish checks. So currently it's incredibly powerful to be able to recrawl that page as you're working on it. This is just the next iteration. And I'll say in terms of the integrations that we have currently functioning out there, this is best in class. And so it definitely represents kind of that next step forward as we grow our partnership, not only with Kentico, but also with BizStream.
Right. And what's happening is we were talking to kind of just illustrate that it can take a minute or two. And what's happened, the workflow has actually attempted to check, is it done or not? Currently, we have it set up to check every 1 minute. So it may be even done now as we're talking, but I'm just trying to illustrate that this system is smart enough to just keep, is it ready, is it ready, is it ready, and bring it back. And again, sometimes this goes really fast. And that's actually a good point. I'm going to just quick show this as well. The integration adds in that workflow that I talked about from a getting started standpoint with the Siteimprove Pre-Published Check API. But it's the starting point, and it can be customized to be tweaked even faster for your environment. So you can kind of like move around these boxes, you can edit things and change that workflow. If you don't want to do it every 1 minute, you can do it a little faster, you can do it a little slower, you can add a double layer of approval. You can just craft and use the Kentico Xperience engine to make this workflow even more personalized to your scenario for what you need. But at this point, I'm guessing we're probably ready to move on because it should be done by now. And if it is. So notice that we're back on the edit step. That means that that content did not pass. And we're showing that in the history tab of the workflow right here in the log. So this is the workflow history. And this is one thing where I really would want to tell Kentico they could be slightly better. We get this one text field to work with on workflow history. But what we're saying is that content failed on 3 high priority matches. So we found in that content lorem ipsum text, we found dancing goat misspelled 2 times, and we found that there were short words repeated in succession 4 times, which is interesting because I didn't notice that when I was creating the content, right? This content doesn't look like that happens that much, except for, okay, here's a misspelling. But what I was actually trying to simulate is, this happens to me in the real world once in a while. Oh, wait, I just didn't scroll down far enough. Here's my Latin text. So that was in there. And you may not know that if you're making just a quick edit to the summary. Again, we're trying to help make the process better. And that is the key of the integration. It's all of this content that makes up that web page. It's pushed over, and it's basically saying, okay, go try again. You didn't match the policies that your organization has set up for quality content. Make sure it's fixed. So if I were to go delete all this Latin text and click publish again, it would pass all the checks and everything would go out live to the world. Again, it's just that helper to make sure you're doing things the right way. So that's the short demo, basically.
Well, Brian, I think we've both demonstrated that you built a wonderful integration, and also that no one should hire you as a copywriter.
Well, so, I totally agree. Totally agree.
Objective accomplished.
Yep. And again, if you have more questions about how the integration works, I'm happy to field those. We're going to have plenty of time for that. But I want to get back to the rest of the presentation and give you the special offer we've been talking about since the beginning. So this would obviously probably be the next question. What does this extension cost? This is a paid extension with the Toolkit for Kentico. That is our suite of how we make working with Kentico easier. We've got a couple different Toolkit products. Siteimprove Basic, again, is always free. Siteimprove Premium is $1,000 a year per production website. So what we've tried to do there is really match it really tightly with the Kentico Xperience licensing model that, in case you don't know, that was updated in 2020 as well. Pretty much everything is you get a production URL at this license, and you get as many stage, dev, QA, local, non-production licenses as you want for the one charge. That's the really nice part about the story that Kentico Xperience has. I really appreciate the way they do that licensing. So we've just piggybacked that and do the same thing with Toolkit for Kentico. So we've got the per year per production websites, and there are some volume discounts available. If you go up many different websites, many different years, you can get a hold of us and talk about that. And then we've got some other extensions as well. It should be very easy. We have a website that's actually toolkitforkentico.com, but it's kind of a three-step process. You go to the website and you download the toolkit, which is basically a Kentico module. It's something that you would import into your Kentico installation, just like you would do any other Kentico best practice customization, because it's all in a package that you can either add in or remove however you'd like. So you add in the toolkit base module, and then you click a button that says install Siteimprove Premium, and that will bring in the second module that brings in the extension and other extensions. So these links that are on this slide will be in the chat, I believe. I think the team here is going to put that in the chat right now, so you can see the links and click them if you'd like. You can check out our website. It's got all of the information on how to use the tools, how to get started, usage guides, installation guides. That we have a couple different ways you can actually install it. It does vary across Kentico version. We do support Kentico version 8.2 all the way up to Kentico 12.0 Service Pack 1. It works for Portal Engine and MVC, as I mentioned. And then if you're interested in buying it, that's that last link where you'll click that to get a hold of us, and you can buy the extension from us. So with that, we're a little over 30 minutes. I thought we could get it at that point, but let's maybe take some questions.
Sounds good. Well, I have it pulled up here. I think this first one is for you. And does this work with staging sites? Our staging URL is different from our published URL site. And so I think first of all, it has to say that most of this will have to be, if you add your staging site under the information that you're scanning with Siteimprove, then yes, it will work. Brian, is there any kind of complications with the plugins?
Yeah. And sorry, I'm doing two things at once. I just noticed that, I apologize. The Bitly link, I will edit that very quickly here. It had a period at the end of it. I blame Bitly for that. Just delete that last period and it should work. And I put that link in the chat. That's, hey, should have had Siteimprove for that too.
There it is. There it is.
Yeah, so on the staging site, fantastic question. It's something we run into all the time. And actually, we do have a solution for that, and that's part of the basic extension. So this is a kind of admin domain URL. And if you were noticing, we actually added or injected a Siteimprove tab into the equation. And this is showing you the URL that we're actually pushing up to Siteimprove for this page. And you can actually edit this URL if it's a stage site and add in like a special port, because at the end of the day, Siteimprove is an internet-facing thing. As long as your pages can be accessed from the internet, and we do that usually through a port that we open up for just this one website that you're working on stage, and that traffic can come in and spider that URL that's special. You can either override just like one page at a time, or we actually added a setting to our Siteimprove module, and for that specific reason, that if you want to override pretty much like all of the URLs to have that special port on your stage site. So for instance, if this was running internally at BizStream at say like stage admin, I can actually change that to maybe only be accessible at port like 8142. I'm just kind of making that up. You would click save in the settings. And now back over on our pages tab, sorry, the chat window's in the way here a little bit. Back over on our pages tab, if you look, I didn't type that in that time. It actually overrode the URL. I'll make it on the homepage just to make it even more clear. So it overrode the URL for the homepage to have that special port to get at the stage sites. And that carries through into other pages. So, you know, we've got our kind of like our live website URL, node alias path is what it's called in Kentico. That respects that stage site configuration. So that way you can allow Siteimprove in on that port to your stage site, and you're kind of off and running. And that's another reason why we built the original plugin too, is because we had that very need. We wanted to make it work on staging sites for our customers as we were building out their sites.
Sounds good. And I think there's a brief follow-up to that. It said staging URL is internal, not accessible to the public or by public.
So that is the one thing I can't fix for you. If you purely have no way to get to it, no tool ever can help you out. It is something that, and I don't know, Brendan, if you want to answer that differently from a Siteimprove perspective, but from the Toolkit for Kentico perspective, you have to be able to at least get to it through that secret port.
Yep, I think that's how we would answer it as well. But what we can do is also take that conversation offline with success manager, account manager, et cetera, et cetera. Next question, we have our Kentico CMS admin behind a firewall. Would the SI plugin need access? If so, our security might have concerns. How would you respond? Question mark.
Sure. So it's the same answer for the basic plugin. For the premium plugin, where we're pushing content out to Siteimprove, we're not having Siteimprove look in. It should work with a firewall involved. Where, you know, as long as you can communicate out to Siteimprove through port, I think it's port 443 because it's secure. It'll work just fine. It's only that scenario, that first question, where you're trying to have Siteimprove look in from a basic extension level. It really is something that, again, you have to be able to allow that through the firewall. And we've done that for clients by doing the user agent from Siteimprove. I believe also you might be able to do it like by the IP address that Siteimprove originates from. Again, like Brendan said, there's probably a way to do it that's still secure, but you might have to talk to your security team, and you might have to involve the support from Siteimprove as well.
Okay, I have another one probably pertaining to the standard plugin. So it says, I currently use the Siteimprove tool to check broken links on our website. I frequently have the issue of fixing the broken link, and the page does not recognize the update until Siteimprove rescans the entire site. Mm-hmm. Will the implementation of adding this with the Kentico plugin be quicker in checking the page after edits are made?
Yes, so it will. It will be quicker. Actually, one of the things I'm showing on the screen right now is if you want to manually trigger a recheck at any point for a specific page, because the specific page check is faster than the whole site recrawl, this button right here will do it on just this one page. Or you can request a full recrawl without having to jump out into all the settings in Siteimprove. Or we actually added, again, one more setting that to automate that process. So you don't have to click the button at all. If you want to optionally, on either clearing the cache of your page or publishing your page, we automatically request a recheck and recrawl if this check mark is checked. So that's the thing that would really make it faster, because you don't even have to remember to request the recrawl. And if there's 3 rules when you deal with Kentico, right? Number 1 is the site running. Number 2, did you clear the cache or not to fix a problem? And number 3, did you clear the cache or not? So we tied into the cache event of clearing the cache for that page to request a recrawl as well. So yeah, I truly believe this will make that much faster.
Sounds good. I think there's one housekeeping question that says, I get a missing access to page error in my extension for all pages. How do I get it to actually read the page?
Missing access. So do you mean, I'm not sure who's asking that, but are we talking?
I think it's a configuration error on our side, actually. So I would reach out to your customer success rep Looks like some of the things that you're viewing might not be in your scan. And so with the standard plugin, that would probably be the culprit. Let's see, I don't believe we have any more questions. So we do have actually one more. It says, is the recrawl button access controllable via Kentico roles?
Wow, that's a great question. The technical answer to that is it is a UI element on that part of the Pages tab. And because UI elements in Kentico can be personalized by role, in theory, yes, you could definitely say that if I'm in this role, I see that button. And if I'm not in this role, I don't see that button. But by default, the way we ship the install of the plugin, we do not have that respecting any roles. So just if you can be an editor and you have rights to edit and publish that page, you see that button. But that is something that in Kentico, if you get into like the deep down guts of it, you could toggle on and off by role. So it's not like automatic and it's not like super clear exactly where to go. But you can do it because Kentico Xperience has that capability.
Sounds good. Well, I think we have no more questions remaining. So if you have any last second questions about the plugin, also potentially current Tigers manager, Ron Gardenhire, former Twins manager, we can also take questions for that. But unless something pops up, I think we will conclude there. Is there anything, any conclusion or kind of ending remarks you'd like to put out there, Brian?
No, not really. I just appreciate everyone's time. I know you're all busy. I hope you all stay safe and healthy. I hope you're enjoying your Kentico Xperience platform. And if you're using, Kentico and Siteimprove, I definitely want you to check out our toolkit for Kentico extensions. There's my contact info if you want to know anything all about the extensions. I'm happy to do that. And, I want to thank Siteimprove as well for being gracious enough to host us on their webinar platform. And I hope you all found the time valuable.
Sounds good. Thanks everybody for joining.